This is a quick visual overview of the modules you're going to use for Lab 5. It's very simple. This is just to show you what they look like, and then I'll show you where they are in the modular, even though you should be able to find them yourself. This is the MIDI interface. This takes MIDI and turns it into voltage that the modular can understand. The one to the left, the Q175, is an aid module. It's a passive module that just breaks functions out from the 174. You're not going to use it for Lab 5. You can mess with it if you want, feel free, but make sure you make the correct settings on it according to the XLS patch sheet. You'll be patching the pitch and gate outputs from the MIDI interface into a mult, which looks like this. There's several of these all over. You can use any one. The one thing I'll point out in this picture, the switch is up. Keep the switches down. The switch up connects these, so it's a single 8-way mult. So if you were using the top for pitch and the bottom for gates and you have that switch up, you'll get very confused because it will go crazy and wild and weird. You're going to come out of the mult into one of the Q106 oscillators. These are the 1 volt per octave inputs. So if you plug the pitch voltage out from the MIDI interface in here, this oscillator will track the keyboard. Of course, you're actually feeding the pitch output into a mult first, so you can take one into here and then a second identical signal into a second one of these. These are all audio, or I should say signal outputs, usually audio unless this switch is all the way down, but it won't be for this lab. You're going to use the sawtooth output, and that, for both oscillators, is going to go into 2 inputs of this mixer. So bring the top Q106 in here, that'll be VCO1. Bring the bottom or lower Q106 into here to input 2. This is important. Put both level 3 and level 4 all the way down. Always, unless you've got something plugged in or you understand what's happening, because you can provide a positive or negative offset voltage with these, which I'll show you later what to do, but for now it might just get you confused. You can take either output for the audio, and you're going to plug into this filter. Input, crank it up. The 3 controls you're going to use for this lab that make a lot of difference in the sound is the frequency control, the resonance control, and the F level. That's actually called an FM, or frequency modulation. That controls how much the envelope generator is affecting the VCF. These are all audio outputs. You're going to take the low pass and you're going to feed it into, what else? A VCA. Signal input. You're going to take the positive output and plug in the long, really long, like 20-foot black cable. That's going to go to the Mackie. The cable with the masking tape on the connector goes to channel 1. Keep the switch in linear mode and follow the directions. So that's how that looks. Now I'll show you where they are. Here's the modular as of now. It does move all the time. We move modules around, but as of now for Lab 5, this is what it looks like. Here are the modules you will be using. These are the MIDI interface modules that you'll be taking the pitch output from and the gate output from. This mult is what I'm calling mult 1. As far as the mults go, you can literally use any one you want. It doesn't matter. I'm just calling this mult 1. Here are the 2 oscillators we're going to use. Both of those are going to feed into this mixer. The audio output of that mixer is going to feed into this filter. The audio output of that filter is going to feed into this VCA. There are 2 very long, like 20-foot black 1/4-inch cables that come up to the modular. One has masking tape, one doesn't. The one without the masking tape is Mackie channel 1, the one with the masking tape, channel 2. For the gate signal path, you're going to take the gate output of the MIDI interface, and we need a mult. You can use any one. I'm going to use this one here. And you're going to feed one version of that gate signal into this envelope generator, which will then modulate this filter. And another output from this mult will come over here to this envelope generator, which will modulate the VCA. So this envelope generator would be called the filter EG, and this one would be called the VCA EG. Here is a sparse version of the modular with all of the modules you'll be using for Lab 5. You see how much less scary it is? I'm actually going to draw a patch for you and show you what you're going to be doing. So when you patch this, you're going to take the pitch output of the MIDI interface that has a different voltage for each key, feed it into a mult. Pick one. Then you're going to take one version into the 1 volt per octave input of VCO1 and another into the 1 volt per octave input of VCO2. These will now track the keyboard. You're going to take the audio outputs, take a sawtooth into input 1 of the mixer, do the same thing for the bottom, take the sawtooth out into input 2. As I mentioned, make sure channels 3 and 4 on the mixer are turned down. You can take either audio output, it doesn't matter, and bring it into, I forget which one I said, it doesn't matter. You can bring it into either one. This one just has an attenuator. If you use it, turn it all the way up. Then you're going to take the low pass output of the filter into the signal input of the VCA. The VCA has 2 inputs. They are in parallel. You can use either one. You can use it as a unity gain mixer as well. Then the positive output of the VCA will have one of those long cables that go to the Mackie. At this point, the audio path is complete. If you turn the initial gain up and you had your volumes up on channels 1 and 2 of the mixer and turn the frequency up, you'd hear it droning. Then you are going to take the gate output and you're going to mult that and send one version of that mult into envelope generator 1, which is modulating the filter. You're going to take the output of that and bring it into the FM input. And then this knob here will control how much of this signal the filter is listening to or being affected by. Then you're going to take a second version and bring it into this gate input and do the same thing. You're going to come into control input. In my experience, one of the things that people first start out frequently get confused is the difference in the inputs in the VCA. Just remember, if it says signal input, those inputs are what's going to come out of the outputs. If it says control input, anything plugged in here does not come out of the outputs. It only affects how the VCA behaves. That's the whole patch for Lab 5. That's not too bad, huh?